Hello, we're going to talk today about special right triangles, okay? Um, and there's two right triangles we're going to talk about. The first one being a 45, 45, 90 right triangle, okay, where the degree measurements are 45, 45, and 90, okay? If that's the case with this right triangle, then we know that it's isosceles as well, okay, because we have two congruent angles, therefore we have two congruent sides, okay, and the sides opposite. All right, obviously the hypotenuse has to be bigger than the two legs, but the two sides we know, and this is an S, is um, are the same, okay? All right, and these right triangles have a specific ratio according to the side lengths compared to the hypotenuse. All right, and if we wanted to say that's h for hypotenuse, all right, we know that this side is congruent to this side. Now we could determine any sides by the Pythagorean theorem with a right triangle. So we have side squared plus another side squared, they're congruent, equals the hypotenuse squared. Okay, so we have two side squareds equals the hypotenuse squared. Okay, if we were to square root both sides, we'd be left with the hypotenuse equals the square root of 2 times s, or s square root 2 equals h. Okay, so h is going to equal s square root 2. Whatever the side length is, square root 2. All right, now, in most cases, what we're going to do is we're not going to use s because just like it before, you guys might have confused that with a 5. We're going to use x. So you have x, x, and then this, the hypotenuse, is going to be whatever x is times the square root of 2. All right, so for our ratio of a 45, 45, 90 triangle, all right, the side across from the 45 is going to be x. The side across from the other 45 is going to be x. And then the side across from the hypotenuse is going to be whatever x is times the square root of 2. All right, and there's our ratio in accordance with the 45, 45, 90 triangle. Let's see how this works out when we're trying to find specific sides for these right triangles. Okay, so again, we have our isosceles right triangle. So our angles are 45, 45, and 90. Okay, we know the legs are 6. Okay, 6 units, 6 centimeters, whatever. We're just going to call them 6 for right now. The length from here to here is 6 units. Okay, we have to find out the length of the hypotenuse. Okay, what is the length of the hypotenuse? Well, with our ratio, we know that 45, 45, 90 is x to x to x, whatever x is, times the square root of 2. So in this case, across from 45 is 6, so this side is 6, 6, and therefore 6 square root 2. So the length of the hypotenuse is 6 times the square root of 2. All right. On this line right here, I want you to write a G. Okay. Second one. All right, we have the square root of 3 and the square root of 3 as our two sides. So we have x, I'm going to put dashes, x to the x square root of 3. All right, so we know one side length is square root of 3. The other side length is square root of 3. And our cross on the hypotenuse would be, is x, but, it's x square root 3. So whatever x is equals whatever our side is times the square root of 3. So our side is square root I'm sorry, square root 2. I got mixed up with this problem. Alright, so we got square root of 3, which was x, times the square root of 2. Alright, so what's square root of 3 times the square root of 2? That's the square root of 6. So x equals the square root of 6. Alright, and now I know the problem here is we use x for our ratio, okay, and then x in our problem might get confusing, but try to differentiate between x for our problem and x for our ratio. Okay? So whatever this is times the square root of 2. Alright, we get the square root of 6. Alright, last two. Okay, we have 8 square root 2, and then x and x. Now we have to find the legs. Okay, so our ratio is a side to another side to x square root 2. That side times square root of 2. Okay, now in this case we have x square root 2 equals 8 square root 2. So what does x equal? Alright, if you have to do the math, we will divide both sides by the square root of 2, and we get x equals 8. So each side is going to be 8. Alright, last one, and I'll change this up so this is not x, this is a and b. So we have our ratio. Okay, we have a, we have b, and then we have 10. Okay, so the x square root 2 equals 10. Alright, now we have to solve for x. Divide both sides by square root of 2. Okay, and we get x equals 10 divided by the square root of 2. Alright, what do we have to do here? We cannot have, based off of previous lessons, we cannot have a radical in the denominator, so we multiply by that radical. 10 times the square root of 2 is 10 square root of 2. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, which is just 2. Remember, when we multiply two of the same square roots, we just get the radicand in the middle. Alright, simplify. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so we have 5 square root 2. Alright, so x equals 5 square root 2. So 5 square root 2, 5 square root 2. Therefore, a is 5 square root 2, and b is 5 square root 2. Okay. Ask me any questions tomorrow if you have any. And make sure you complete the practice problems in class. Bye.